Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 324 of Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet. My name is Summer Rain.
My name is Jordan Willis.
And my name is David Howe.
And wow, it's the three of us. Look at that. The three of us all together. It's been a while. And it is just the three of us this week because there has just been so much news. It has been a whirlwind of a week. So this week we are bringing to you all news to talk about all this news. There have just been so many video game announcements, both in just video games being dropped out of the blue, video games that we now know are happening. There have been how many acquisitions, politics. But before we get into all of that, how has everyone been?
Pretty good. I know at least a couple of us have been on some trips. I went to New York City, concrete jungle where dreams are made of. Had a pretty good time out there, hung out with some friends. Shout out to my buddy Andrew, who I stayed with in Manhattan. We played a lot of UFO 50 and watched a lot of movies. I didn't do a lot of like sightseeing or like touristy stuff. I kind of just like hung out with some pals when I was out there. That was nice. And also shout outs to my dad, who just turned 69. Pretty nice.
Nice.
Yes, absolutely. I had to explain to him why everyone says nice for 69. I mean, he knew. He was like, 69, like the sexual 69? And I was like, yeah, that's why. Anyway, so I was there for his birthday as well. We watched one battle after another at the Dallas IMAX in 70 millimeter, which was truly amazing. It's a 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10 movie. Really recommend everybody go see it if you have a chance. I saw it again the following day, actually. So I'm way into that movie, but I've been having a lot of fun. What about you, Jordan? How was your week? You were out of the country, yeah?
Yeah, that feels like a lifetime ago since what happened since I got back.
Yeah.
This past weekend was good. I also I met a baby this weekend. That was cool. Shout out baby Sage. Nice to meet you. I went to a spooky event for another Austin podcast called the Night Owl Podcast that I'm a fan of. And then I also went and saw Pavement and Built to Spill last night.
Wow.
And that was great. Sunday night of Levitation. But yeah, I was in Japan. I went for 9 days, which you kind of lose a day going out there, but whatever, semantics, right? And I just had a whirlwind of a time. I went, did 3 nights in Tokyo. Then I did 2 nights in Fukui to visit Chewy. Shout out Chewy. Thanks for letting me stay with y'all.
Oh, yeah.
Saya as well. And Saya's father, whose name I do not remember. And I'm so sorry. I don't remember his name. And
I just edited it in. Don't worry.
Thank you. Anyway, all right, cool. Just to give you that little edit point. And then I did 2 nights in Kyoto and then 1 more night in Tokyo and flew back to the United States. It was nice to be out of the country for a while. And then all the news was pretty wonky as soon as I got there. And I was like, well, I'll go back into the fire in 7 days. But I have a couple things I was going to show on the camera real quick. Mostly do just my Nintendo related items because in Japan you get so many different things all the time.
It's a giant mall.
Dude, Tokyo especially. But yeah, I had to get the Nintendo themed Hanafuda set because that's pretty sick. David and I play Hanafuda on Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics.
Oh yeah, we did play that. That was really fun when we played online.
I like to play with that deck. So I was like, I need to get the deck IRL from a little gacha machine. I got a little Gengar.
Nice.
First try. That was very nice. I bought one Japanese video game and it was Pokemon Scarlet. So I'm finally going to play Pokemon Scarlet because they have, it was cheaper. And 2, they have English language version. And it was like, oh, it's nice. Like every game except for, I have every game except for Sword and Shield and Black and White 2. Like physical copies still. So I just think this would be nice to like add to my collection on my shelf and just have just the one odd one out of the Japanese version. It's cool. And then I got this at the Nintendo store. It's like a little they have the Series 2 now, David, because you got Series 1.
No, Series 2 was out when I was there.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, but I did not get the N64 gotcha. That was very cool.
Well, the funny story is I actually got 2 of the buttons for GameCube. I did 2. I was like, I'm going to do 2 of these gotchas, and I got the exact same thing in a row. And there's a kind person who I do not know his name was like, hey, do you want to trade? I don't really care what I get. And I was like, me neither. Honestly, I'd probably just give one of these away. He's like, no, trade me. So he traded me this. So that was very kind of him. And I kept this and I gave the other one to my friend Chewy.
Nice.
Boss Key from Legend of Zelda. I thought this is a heavy.
Oh.
It looks heavy.
Very heavy keychain.
Wow.
This is very sick. This is very cool.
Yeah.
I saw it online. I was like, if that's there, that's like my instant buy, my number one.
Nice.
I did not get to go to the Nintendo Museum. However, Chewy happened to message me like, hey, I finally got into the Kyoto Nintendo Museum actually the weekend before you're going to be here. If you want anything, hit me up. So I tried to do a lot of research online of like what they have.
Mhm.
So I got from the collection, it's like a 2000 to 2017 like consoles collection.
Mhm.
So these were actually like limit 2 per person. So he got, I want to say he got the Game Boy Advance, and then he got also the Switch. And
Wow,
he
a
gave
Switch Micro is real.
Yes, the
You
Switch
saw it here
Micro.
first.
Imagine pressing those buttons.
Switch
I
for
tried.
ants.
Also, RIP audio listeners, just watch the beginning here on YouTube if you could, and leave a like and subscribe while you're over there. Appreciate you.
Yes, that's why I'm trying to describe the things. This is like a small keychain.
Yeah, but some things just can't be described.
So please go on YouTube. Anyway, I also got David, like you had gotten the stickers from the Nintendo.
Yeah, which ones
I
did
was
you
like,
get?
These are so sick. They had some Paper Mario ones, but apparently he said they couldn't find them when they were there. So he just got me like pretty much every Metroid one he saw. So,
Oh, cool.
original Metroid, Metroid 2, Return of Samus. This was my number one. I really wanted this one. The Metroid Fusion box art for Game Boy Advance is so sick. This is my favorite box art. This is like my background of my work computer, and everyone's like, you like video games, guy? I'm like, yeah, I have Metroid Fusion in my background at work. Who cares?
Nice.
Metroid Prime. And then these were also the other ones that I really like. The Nintendo 64 for Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. Is just
Oh, hell
so
yeah.
big, dude. It's like
Yeah, and the Ocarina of
face.
Time Japanese box art is insane.
It's so cool. I mean,
Looks
so
like
is the
wisps
Majora's
of
Mask
smoke.
one.
Yeah,
Wow.
Very
good
sick.
stuff.
And then my hand towel while I was over there, I bought one at the Nintendo store. So my hand towel was little Mario in a boot because you carry a hand towel around in Japan. And what else do I have over here? So I also ended up coming back with more film. Oh, one last thing. Paper Mario washi tape.
Ah, yes.
I was like, I don't really need washi tape. I don't
even know what washi tape is.
It's decorative tape.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
isn't all
basically
tape
masking.
It's like
decorative tape?
stationery. Yeah.
So, but the fact that it was Paper Mario, I was like, this is too cute to pass up.
Yeah.
I also came back with more film or some more film than I went with. So I went with like 9 rolls or 8 rolls, and I came back with like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rolls. So I met with a photographer out there who does experimental photography as well, like I do.
Yeah, I saw,
not
was
exactly.
Was that who you saw? Like who I saw on your Instagram story? Who was posting about you?
Yeah, his name is Yoshitaka Goto. He's probably one of my favorite modern photographers because
Cool.
he just does all double exposure in camera stuff. And his double exposures that he'll do in camera, like some will be in one country and then the other shot will be in another country. And I was just like, how do you do this? That's incredible.
Right.
And so when we met up, I just kind of got to pick his brain, and we got to, because then he saw my kaleidoscopes and he's like, how are you doing that? And I was like, this is a real meeting of the mind, just sharing techniques and stuff like that. Because there's honestly like maybe a handful of true like experimental photographers in the world. So it's like really cool that we could get to meet up and just kind of like talk shop to another person that understands what we're doing.
Oh yeah,
you know?
man, that's
It's
great.
really cool.
Yeah,
That was
we
probably-
love it. We love an international summit.
Yes. And then I also got, this is probably the last thing I'll show is like,
Yeah.
I got a build your own kaleidoscope kit. I think it's for children, but I could not resist the idea of this build your own kaleidoscope kit. It was fairly inexpensive, so I was like, yeah, I'll try my hand at it. But,
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Japan was crazy. I have many more stories, but save that for another time.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a whole special episode, Patreon, for the Patreons. You can talk about your Japan trip. I'd love to hear all about it. What about you, Summer? How was your past week?
Yeah, it feels pointless after Japan trip, but
I'm sorry.
Yeah, my past week was okay. I went to a video game music jam over the weekend, got to sing on some songs and just hang out with other musician and gamer nerds. So that's always nice. We've got a pretty good scene developing here. It feels like there's something almost every week. So that's kind of been what I've been up to, is hanging out with VJ.
Hell yeah. No, that seems really cool. I know MagFest tickets are on sale now, right?
Yes, and by the time you're listening to this podcast, you have missed your opportunity to buy a badge to get into the hotel lottery. So
gotcha. Yeah, I'm still trying to decide like if I'm going to that or AGDQ or both. I'd love to like go to like the first few days of AGDQ and then like maybe but I also like
I think that's what most people do.
Yeah, I know, but the end of AGDQ is so hype.
It's a lot of the same people though. Yeah. That's the thing. That go to both. And I think like one came out of the other. I want to say AGDQ like came out of MagFest. So the fact that they like are happening at the same time is like, come on, y'all. Yeah. My personal opinion is there are apparently there's less than 7,000 badges left at the time, like as of right now. And it's better to buy a badge now and then decide you don't want to go and resell it later, because you will absolutely be able to resell it because it will sell out like within a month and you'll get your money back.
Interesting.
Don't go. Yeah.
Cool.
That's my official advice.
Good to know. I don't know. We'll see. This is all in January, right?
Yeah. Right. The official dates are January 8th or the 11th.
Well, hopefully, inshallah, I'm still unemployed by that point, so I can just go. Because I feel like it. Fuck a job. I don't need work.
Yeah, you don't need money to go to MagFest.
Yes. Listen, money's a construct, man. Okay, you can always just take more by robbing a bank. Anyway,
not my official advice, by the way.
No, that's my official advice. Absolutely.
Yes.
Sorry, I've watched one battle after another too many times. Okay, we'll move on here. Just a couple quick shout outs before we get into the news from Laxtreet's episode, which was on the trivia episode that we did, that for us feels like a long time ago because we recorded that like 3 or 4 weeks ago. But for you guys was just this last week. A Real Tomato on YouTube says Cobwebs, the corner of David's brain where he keeps shit like that. And also Snake Jazz said, fuck yeah, trivia battle. Great pregame banter, gang. So I think we're good. We've got good chemistry according to Snake Jazz, which you love to see. How are you feeling about that, Jordan? What's the grumbles over here?
Just, I wish I performed better.
Hey, you did great. Okay. That was a hard trivia.
That was hard trivia.
Yeah, that was hard trivia.
I'm still stuck on the Ike thing. That's what I'm really just like sighing about. I'm just like,
Ike is one of the bluest haired Fire Emblem characters.
And that's like, that is.
But not a lord. That is
not 100% on me. Like I was literally opposite on both. So I'm still stuck on it.
No, you
can't forget it.
You did great. I think we all were so proud of Jordan's performance. Also, I think it was AV in the Discord also chimed in and said AV got 10 out of the 30 questions. So congratulations, AV. That was a better score than any of us got, if you include false scores, which I believe AV was as well. So maybe we'll have to have AV on for a trivia at some point. I'm sure that you'll probably dethrone me finally. But I think with all that out of the way, we should move into the news. I do want to say real quick, if you could tell a friend about the show, post it somewhere on Reddit. If you yourself would like to be shouted out, leave a comment over on the YouTube like we talked about. We had a little show and tell this episode of Jordan's Japanese stuff, and that's just a great place to take in podcast content. Join us over there. Obviously, we have the show over on Apple and Spotify. We'd love reviews over there. And to share a show with a friend on social media would be fantastic. Hit us up over there as well. We'll have more information about that and some special announcements at the very end of this episode. But let's go ahead and move on to the news. We are going to be talking about, I think, the biggest news in the realm of Nintendo, and there was a lot this past a week or two, and that is that Doug Bowser is stepping down as president of Nintendo of America. This seemingly came out of nowhere. I think this was like a late night announcement or something like that when this actually dropped. Maybe it was a Japan time thing. But yes, Doug Bowser is stepping down. I think he is 60 years old, if I'm not mistaken. And that is I think older than, it's either 1 year older or 1 year younger than Reggie was at this time. But either way, he is going to be replaced by Devin Pritchard, who has been at the company for about 19 years. Devin Pritchard, as I understand, was head of like the legal department for a really long time. Seems there are kind of two paths to the presidency of Nintendo of America. That's either from marketing or legal, right? So Devin comes from that world. Devin will be the first female president of anything Nintendo, which is pretty cool. You love to see it. What Devin will bring to the company is yet to be seen. But what do you guys think about Doug Bowser finally stepping down? I say finally as if he's had a super long tenure, but stepping down as Nintendo of America. Do you guys have any thoughts on his time at the company?
Not really. He was fine. Yeah. You know, he didn't do anything egregious. He didn't do anything like crazy standout. He did a job and now he is retiring, and that's great for him. Cool. Yay. And we got a woman president before GTA 6.
Yeah. Nintendo of America has a female president before the United States does. So
yeah, that part too.
Good to know. What about you, Jordan?
Yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting. I mean, Reggie was there for 13 years. I looked this up after because I was like, does he have the shortest tenure? He actually does not have the shortest tenure. The shortest tenure of a president, the second president of Nintendo of America was Tatsumi Shima, who was also the fifth president of Nintendo after Iwata passed. He was like the transitionary president. So I was like, oh, this dude is like, okay, we're going to put you in transitionary phase. You can like hold everything together.
He's a presidential understudy is what you're saying.
Yeah. It's just kind of,
like more of an interim president, I think.
Yeah. And like, that was the one before Reggie. Right. So like, and there was the one before Furukawa. So anyway, it's just kind of fascinating in that way. But I feel the vibe I get is like, I think Doug just wants to retire, dude. I think he's just like, he's had this job for a few years and he went through COVID and he was like, this is stressful and I would like to just peace out. I mean, he's never been as public as Reggie was, you know, public facing at least. So I think he's just like going to just peace out and go retire is the vibe I get.
It's nice that all of these guys are able to retire like well before like, you know, the official retirement age in the United States. I think it does show that the president of Nintendo America pays pretty well, right? If you're able to work your way up at the company. Both of them had been at Nintendo for a very long time before they made it there. Maybe not Reggie. I think Reggie actually came in from Pizza Hut. But Devin Pritchard, at least, both of these last couple have been working up over their time. So that's good. You like to see when you can actually retire and you don't have to constantly keep the Sigma grind set going as you're into your older years. Give him some time to hang out with his family. I do think that, you know, we're in a time right now where Nintendo's kind of in a lot of hot water. I think that the kind of public internet discourse around Nintendo has never been more antagonistic. Do you guys think that that has anything to do with him stepping down at this time? Or do you blame any of that on Doug Bowser? Or do you think all this stuff is coming from NCL?
No, I don't. I think he really doesn't have anything to do with setting the prices and stuff. You know, I feel like that kind of comes down from, you know, I feel like he can make a strong suggestion, but I don't think he really ultimately sets the prices and stuff like that. And then also, like we'll talk about later, like I was always of the mind personally that $450 is like a little higher than I was expecting, but not out of the realm of possibility for purchasing this system. 500 was where I was going to be like, damn. So, I mean, I just feel like all that kind of stuff is just a loud vocal minority because as we've seen, it's like the Switch 2 is still selling like insane numbers. So like, yeah, maybe they're loud on the internet. doesn't translate to not selling the console. You
Yeah.
know, it's not a Virtual Boy situation. So what are you going to do?
Yeah.
He, at the end of the day, he's successful in what he's doing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's interesting looking back on Reggie. You know, Reggie was there for a lot of the times when Nintendo was doing really poorly, and yet has looked back, I think, much more fondly. And as somebody who was doing a lot more for the company, I think that just shows nobody really knows what the Nintendo of America president really does, right? I mean, they're taking whatever their orders are from the top, from Japan, right? So we'll have to see. I do think Devin has an opportunity here, and if you have anything to add to this summer, please do. But I think just to engage, I think, with the user base a little bit more. I do think that I think the reason it felt like such a step down getting to Bowser, other than the fact that his name was Bowser, which was miraculous, and we'll never have that again unless we get like a fucking President Bob-omb or something. I don't know. But I think Devin Pritchard, I think it might behoove her to be a little bit more centric in some of the marketing here. We'll have to see. I don't know what her personality is like or anything like that. But by all accounts, she seems like a really nice person. What do you think? Do you think it might help to have, a Reggie-esque presence directly with fans with Nintendo going forward?
I think the Reggie-esque presence definitely added to Nintendo's image and definitely was in line with the just general vibes that we had from Nintendo at that time. We've spoken on this podcast a lot about, is the silly energy that makes Nintendo still there? And I think the way that the people in power at the company present themselves publicly aids in that.
Mm-hmm.
And that might have I think that does play into it. So just already knowing that, not to make snap judgment assumptions, but there's that photo that's been circulating of her holding a Pikmin, that is clearly a photographed image of her, and Pikmin is also her favorite Nintendo property. So just those two things right there already tells me I don't know, we might be back.
Yeah, either that or she's just trying to suck up to Shigeru Miyamoto.
Or that is, wow. Knowing that she was illegal, that is actually incredibly possible. And these have all been calculated business moves.
Right. Yeah.
20 years in the making.
All the PR
She's
talk.
a doctorate.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's all the PR talk from everybody has been very PR talky throughout this entire endeavor. So I'm not expecting anything too different, but I'm rooting for Devin. I know it's probably going to be a little bit of an uphill battle given the way that gamers are with a
100%.
female president. So I wish her all the best going forward. I'll be rooting for her. We're going to move on to our next bit of news, which concerns Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. And it has been reported by Kiwi Talks, who I don't love to always talk about because I think he's just constantly talking. But he's got a good scoop that I can kind of personally corroborate. And that is that Metroid Prime 4 is reportedly the most expensive Nintendo game ever produced. Apparently, this game has a budget of $100 million, which I think surpasses the $70 million that had previously held the record from Tears of the Kingdom. So, yeah, I think that Nintendo has to sell a lot of copies of this game in order to break even. But that might not even need to be their goal. Jordan, do you have any thoughts on this, just kind of as a news item, the expense of this game? And do you think it's going to be a problem for Nintendo if it doesn't sell astronomical numbers?
No, it does make me nervous about the future of the franchise if this doesn't make its money back. But at the same time, we've been in this boat before with Metroid. I think Nintendo is not, they know what Metroid is. But to me, it's $100 million sounds like a lot of money. But then when you compare it to the average AAA game price and game production price is $200 million.
Yeah.
That's kind of a number I'm kind of just pulling out, but there's a lot of games that cost $150 to $200 million to make and no one bats an eye.
Right.
So the fact that Nintendo has gotten this far where this is the most expensive game finally in 2025. Also, this game's been in development for 8 years now and had a restart of development whenever Bandai Namco was originally making it. So it's it makes sense that this is the most expensive one. I feel like even Tears of the Kingdom probably didn't have as long of a production cycle as this game has had.
They had to restart it too. I'm not sure if that restarting is actually included in this price or not. But even if it isn't, I think for the length of time that Retro's been developing it and the kind of game it is, 100 million doesn't seem that out of whack in current game dev cycles, right?
And between that and then the latest trailer for the game, I'm just like, is this game a lot bigger than all of us know? Because, the first trailer was very much what you would expect of a Metroid Prime game.
Right.
Like small. And then with the new trailer with the motorcycle and the big desert area, I'm like, is this going to be a pretty big open world game? I think it might be a little bigger than we're expecting. And that might have also added to the cost. So it just makes me honestly a little bit more hyped to play the game if in a weird way. Not saying that a bigger budget is a better game, but it's just makes me more curious. Let's put it that way.
I think that it's, like you said, Jordan, I think the fact that this is Nintendo's most successful game just speaks to, yes, how frugal they are with development costs, right? And I think that the number of games that were probably made for $10 or $20 million that have made so much more than that completely offsets, I think, this game being super expensive. So
totally.
I think that Nintendo makes games that they know aren't going to be 10, 15, $20 million sellers for the goodwill of fans as they go out and to other money-making ventures such as parks and all this other kind of stuff where they know that's going to be surefire hits, merchandising, shit like that. Nintendo is at record profits right now than they've ever been at. So I think that, I would hope that even if this game isn't a $3+ million seller, which right now currently is the most that a Metroid game has sold, that was Dread, I think sold just over the original Metroid Prime, which is also around 3 million. That they will continue to make Metroid games just to appease their fans. We'll just have to see how it shakes out. But either way, I can personally corroborate that this is their most expensive game. That's all I'll go into there. But it'll be interesting to see what the sales numbers look like. Moving on, let's talk about Mario Kart World. We finally got a pretty sizable update for this game that has been long needed. This is the first of a couple updates we'll be talking about. Mainly things here are quality of life updates to free roam mode. So you can now see where P switches and question mark panels that you got on the map. You can see those now with a toggle. I think you could only see Peach medallions before that you had received. Now you can see all three of those. I think that's a great update. I fucked around a little bit in free roam after knowing that, and then I kind of stopped because I still haven't done a lot of free roam, but I think that's fine. I think for me, one of the biggest things was the changes to the online. So now you can properly join friends in Knockout Tour online when you play. It's a little annoying just because Knockout Tours take so long to get through that you really have to sit there for a while. And I had issues when we all got knocked out. Us going to next race, it would get us into different rooms.
Oh.
And it was so do we all have to spectate people we don't know in order to stay in the room? So I don't know if that's completely ironed out yet. I did a try with Lefty and Marth online when I was in New York. We played a little bit and that was a lot of fun. That we were able to do it at all is great. But it seems like there's still a little bit of work to be done. On top of that, there have been more UFOs added, so it should be easier to get all the Kamek costumes. Apparently that's a good way to do that. And some other updates as well. Have you guys played this at all? Since the update came out?
Yeah, but unlike you, mostly for free roam for me.
Gotcha. Has having everything on the map, has that been helpful for you?
Yeah, it's good to know what you've already hit, what areas you've already hit, especially if you're using a guide to try to get those last things that you haven't gotten yet, so you know what you've already gotten. Yeah. Yeah, very helpful.
What about you, Jordan? Are you still playing this game at all?
I have not been playing this game probably since the first month I had my Switch. So, no, because mostly the main reason I wasn't playing it was because I knew there would be all of these little quality of life updates in the first year. And I'm hopefully some sort of DLC to where I'm I don't want to invest a lot of time up front knowing the game is going to be better a year from now. So I played a little bit online, stuff like that. So these are the kind of updates that I'm really actually looking for to make me really invest more time in the game, except for now there are too many games, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah, that is our faux main topic on this Oops All News episode. I will say something I forgot to mention is that they did also further increase the appearance of 3-lap races when you're playing online in Adverses, which is great. I think it's every time they release something that likelihood that you get a 3-lap race goes up a little bit more. If they always had this in mind, just so people would play those courses, those intermission courses more, maybe. But I notice now when I play online with people, a lot of people still do pick the intermission. So it's like, don't worry, Nintendo. People are still playing the intermission courses, even if you up the amount of times that you see those. So go ahead and keep bumping that number up. I'm happy to do that. But I, like you, Jordan, also hope that we get some DLC and actual game content soon. But these quality of life updates are always welcome. We're going to move on to the next bit of news, which involves another Nintendo game that I honestly did not think we would be seeing any updates to whatsoever. And that is Dragon Drive. And Dragon Drive actually got some hefty quality of life improvements. First of all, they added local wireless to this game, which is insane that feature was not available at launch and they just added it for free later. Very strange. I kind of always figured that this game had been finished for a while, but this kind of makes me think that maybe this game was made sort of recently before the game was released. Other quality of life updates include a wait list for joining rooms that your friends are in online, which is so clutch. It was almost impossible to play with your friends online when I was playing this. So that is super great. Also, there is play history tab that you can look at now, and it also can display player levels. Lots of little updates in there amongst the other ones. Neither of you were on the Dragon Drive episode when we did it. Did either of you play this game, or was it just me out of the three of us?
Just you, buddy.
Just you.
Yeah. That's funny. That's fair. I think I'm the only person in North America to play this game, to be honest. This is not a very popular game. I really like this game. I have not gone back and tried out these updates because there are just so many games that I'm playing right now, and this is not going to get me to come back, but I would like to do another Dragon Drive party soon. And I think the fact that you can now wait in a room until people free up makes it that much easier to have online play sessions with your friends, where it's not just 3 people and a bunch of bots. I think this is a much better update, so I'm really glad to see that. Crazy that got updated. Maybe this game will see more updates. If it does, I will literally lose my mind. That is crazy. I could not expect that to ever happen. We're going to move on. Summer, this is a news item for you because a brand new first-party Nintendo mobile game has dropped, and it is a Fire Emblem game. Can you tell us a little bit about this new game, Fire Emblem Shadows, that dropped out of nowhere the other day?
Yeah. First of all, it's a Fire Emblem game in name for sure, and there's definitely a grid involved. And then when you're going through the tutorial and they talk about how someone is an imposter and you have to figure out who the imposter is, and you're like, wait a minute, this is Among Us. And then you realize that everybody in the game is an animal, and then you're like, wait a minute, this is Uma Musume. So it's Fire Emblem meets Among Us meets Uma Musume.
Okay.
If Fire Emblem Engage was Intelligent Systems' answer to Genshin Impact, then Fire Emblem Shadows is Intelligent Systems' answer to both Among Us and Uma Musume.
Okay.
Because they are turning characters into basically furry versions of them, which honestly the art design is actually great. I actually really do like the character designs in this. I have not played it much since it came out. I was crazy at launch because and it was funny because I was actually I was at trivia and then I realized what was going on and I was like, sorry guys, I'm not going to be helping the team at all because a new one of my anime games just shadow dropped. And I was doing that instead of paying attention to trivia. And it is officially a Fire Emblem game now because a version of a character from this just got released as a hero in the other mobile game, Fire Emblem Heroes.
Right.
So now,
crossover.
that means that this has been in development for at least a year, because we know that those characters are like held, like they're developed like a year in advance for the other mobile game. So this is something that they've been holding this like ready to drop it. And now that we've got like the tie-in to the Fire Emblem game that has every other Fire Emblem game in it. Okay, wow. Yes, this is actually an official real Fire Emblem game. I haven't actually I haven't like played through the story yet.
There is a
meaning
story.
to.
There's like a single player.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Cool.
yeah. So in the same way that Fire Emblem Heroes has a story that's been going on for like 8-9 seasons.
Gotcha.
The first season of this is live, and the character designs are interesting enough that I will be getting into it at some point. I just have a hard time doing that on my phone.
So answer me this. Do you play this against other players like Among Us?
To my understanding, the online is random right now.
Okay.
As far as I know, there are not private rooms yet. If they introduce private rooms, then I could see myself being a lot more interested in it.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, this is very strange. It's kind of not super surprising that they would just shadow drop this, since it feels like this is a really hard game to market or like or even describe. Like you just described it to me, and I still don't really understand what it is.
I think what's going on here is that Fire Emblem Heroes is just such a whale for
You're
Nintendo.
Right. Totally.
You know, it makes them so much money, and I wonder if they're just I think they're extending the brand. I think this is them extending the brand.
Totally. Well, happy for Fire Emblem fans or fans of mobile games. Congratulations. You have a new one with a bunny girl in it. We love to see that. Big fan of bunny girls. Anyway, a little bit of pre-show banter that was not recorded, referenced right here on the episode. We're going to go ahead and move on to our next bit of topic, which kind of concerns a bunny person. Sort of. Is Klonoa a bunny guy? Anyway, there was 2 new games added to Nintendo Classics Game Boy Advance on the expansion pack for Nintendo Switch Online. And those are honestly 2 of the best games for the Game Boy Advance. Both of these are Namco games from the time, that being Mr. Driller 2 and Klonoa Empire of Dreams. I am a huge fan of both of these games. I actually played through it's hard to kind of play through Mr. Driller, but I played a lot of Mr. Driller and I played through the entirety of Klonoa Empire of Dreams on my Ambernic device recently. These are kind of 2 of my go-to GBA games when I sit down to play GBA. So I'm very excited for more people to be able to play these. This is also interesting because these are the first third-party Nintendo GBA games on Nintendo Classics. So I think both of these were maybe published by, or maybe it was just licensed by Nintendo. I'm not sure exactly how those work, but it's really nice to see these, and I hope it opens the door for more third-party GBA games, because there were a bunch of great ones. Have either of you played these, and are you excited for either of them? Jordan, what about you?
Probably both, honestly, because I wasn't sure I was a Mr. Driller fan, and then I got that re-release of the Mr. Driller GameCube game, and I was like, oh, this is sick. This is some really nice gameplay, because I like Dig Dug and SteamWorld Dig. Anything where you're digging down is very satisfying. So I'll probably pop this open, but the one I'm more excited about is Klonoa Empire of Dreams. This is one that just like passed me by when I was growing up, and I always wanted to play it. It's correct me if I'm wrong, it's a bespoke for the GBA game. It's not like a adaptation.
Yes, it is kind of an adaptation of a Wonder Swan game that was like black and white, but that was obviously never released in the US. And this is a different game, but it's similar in gameplay style to that Wonder Swan game. But the handheld Klonoa games play a little bit more like puzzle platformers than the PlayStation versions. But still an amazing game. I really enjoyed this one a lot.
Yeah, this is the one I probably will play at some point soon, because I just remember it growing up and it just always passed me by. Got away, so now is the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, big fan of Mr. Driller too. I would say these are both kind of puzzle games, and very, very fun to play. Mr. Driller being something you can kind of pick up and put down a little bit more like a arcade game, but they're both pretty good. Have you ever played this Klonoa game, Summer? Are you excited to check it out at all? Are you a Klonoa fan at all?
Not really. And I don't really do a lot of side scrolling stuff besides Mario, right? Like I'm not super big into that. So not the person to ask. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. I definitely recommend at least trying this out. It's got very good vibes, really good music, and it's a ton of fun to play. It's definitely, as far as like side scrolling games go, it is not. There's no like immediacy in this game. It's like you can really take your time and like walk around the area, figure out what the level is, and then make your moves. That's something I really like about Empire of Dreams, and it's a ton of fun to play. I remember playing this last year when I was in New York on the subway a lot. This is like my go-to public transit game. But we'll go ahead and move on from there to a bit of political news. We're going to have a little run of some politics topics here. The first one does include Nintendo, and that is that the Department of Homeland Security has been using the Pokemon TV show theme song. Eagle-eyed viewers will see that is on the screen in the background of my video. That was on purpose. For the Immigrations, Customs, and Enforcement push. That is ICE saying, gotta catch them all. Talking about illegal immigrants is what the term they would use for people that are in this country. They are currently obviously having a giant crackdown in Trump's fascist America right now. And it behooved them to not only use AI Ghibli memes in their conquest to make this gross and disturbing destruction of our civil liberties palatable for an internet audience and millennials, but now they are using the Pokemon theme as well, including clips from the show and stuff like that on social media. I believe I saw. It's really disturbing to see. I know Nintendo has been looking into it, is what last I heard. I know there's a big push to try to get Nintendo to use their copyright laws and whatever to stop some of this. This is disturbing to say the least. I hate to see it. Jordan, do you have any thoughts on this or what we do from here?
I mean, dude, the whole thing is just like, it feels like they hired a like 19-year-old edgelord alt-right kid to run their social media accounts, which is like, it's just weird.
Yeah.
And it just feels weird. It's like a bit tone deaf. If you know the original like Pokemon anime series at all.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like that's clearly not anything that concerns them. So they don't care about that. But it's just like so strange that they thought the crossover would work. And it's like, I don't think Pokemon fans are really thinking about detaining people.
Right.
Yeah, I know. You know what I mean? Like, who thought this was like a good crossover event? It just doesn't make sense as a branding thing in general, which already is disgusting enough. But then to pile that on top, I'm like, it's just bad branding. I don't know. It's just the whole thing is. I just want to get off this timeline. I want to get off this ride. I'm done. But hopefully the Nintendo Ninjas will have their day.
We'll see. That would be. I don't know how you would even approach this as like a
considering right, because considering everything that this administration is doing and so much of it not actually being legal, like what is
true?
They do anything they want. I mean, there's not anything Nintendo can do because there's not anything that anyone has been able to do, and that's why all of this keeps happening. Which is why all I'm going to say is that ICE is weak to fire and fighting. If we're talking about Pokemon.
We're talking about Pokemon there. Yeah, of course.
We're talking about Pokemon, and legality things within Pokemon have never been clear. We just know about type matchups. So I'm just gonna reiterate that type matchup.
Absolutely. That's really great advice going forward, Summer. I think that the last thing I'll say on this, I do feel like there has been a deluge of just nasty, despicable content mashups. I think anything that they do, I think something that really annoys me about this administration and about this kind of very dumb fascist takeover that we see happening right now is how much they use social media to really just manufacture consent constantly for every new rights violation that they want to bring upon us. I think that something that I've noticed, especially recently in the wake of a lot of the political violence that we've been seeing, but something that I've been finding really disturbing is how immediately this FBI or all of these, these Trump appointed, government figures immediately rush to social media with zero kind of investigation or anything like that and say, hey, this is where this came from. This is who this perpetrator was representing, without any kind of due process, without anything like that. And I think stuff like this, where we see them normalizing the atrocities that we see happening every single day, is definitely just a way to make us, it's kind of to have our eyes glaze over as new things happen every single day. So my advice to anyone listening to this right now that gets really angry about this is don't let it fucking phase you, because that is the point. Obviously, call out bullshit when you see it. Protect your neighbors and those around you that you love. And don't let this get to you, because I think the point is to break your spirit. And that is me stepping off the soapbox and moving on to another one.
David, don't worry. It'll be different. And Oracle's TikTok will be way different.
That's true.
Everything's, oh my God,
that's true. Yeah. Well, maybe we should talk about that, because we are moving in now to our next bit of news. And this involves a huge shakeup. Another big right-wing takeover of another massive media corporation, this time being Electronic Arts, is all but confirmed a sale that will be happening, a $55 billion deal that is being backed by the PIF, I believe, which is the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia. And in addition to them, it is a deal that is being co-opted by Silver Lake, which is, I assume, some sort of, do you have background on Silver Lake?
I don't really know much about them. They're a private equity firm, but they are also involved in the Oracle deal for TikTok, which I think is an interesting connection. And I just want to mention that.
Gotcha. And that's obviously Oracle is Larry Ellison, who is, I think, the second richest man in the world. I think it's like him and Elon Musk kind of go back and forth. Larry Ellison and his son, whose name is David Ellison, just bought Paramount as well. They're doing kind of a big shakeup of CBS News and whatnot. And then in addition to that, you also have Affinity Partners, which is run by Jared Kushner, who many will know as the son-in-law of Donald J. Trump. So we have been seeing pretty much a consistent right-wing takeover of pretty much all of media. If reports are to be believed as well, Warner Brothers Discovery is up for sale, and one of the lead potential buyers is Paramount. So that would put Oracle, Electronic Arts, Paramount, CBS, and Warner Brothers, HBO, CNN, and all of that pretty much under the same ownership. This is fucked, man. I mean, like when I talk about the future and how I'm not optimistic for the future, I think that this is one of the big main reasons that I am very, very disturbed by the future of games, media, and media in general. Obviously, we're pretty against mergers and acquisitions here, and I think that you can look at the last year or two of all the layoffs that have been happening because of this, but I think mainly because of Activision Blizzard being sold to Microsoft, and see a lot of parallels. There's more we can go into the story, but I do want to toss it to you guys. Jordan, do you have any immediate thoughts on this?
I don't even know where to start, to be honest. It's just one, like, private equity taking over anything is always going to result in job loss. So just brace yourself for that, because they're going to overvalue the company, pay way too much to all the shareholders to go private, and then they're going to lay off developers. Like, that's the playbook. Like, that's what they do. So
apparently there's going to be, I think with them selling all those their shares going from public to private, they're also going to be in $20 billion of debt. So they're going to have to make that up early on, I would imagine, right?
By firing developers.
Yeah.
Like, it's just disgusting. And I think like this playbook is so repeated at this point that it's like, I know exactly what's going to happen. And that alone just makes me upset. Mm-hmm. And then second of all, I don't feel like any of these people have any qualms using generative AI for video games. So expect EA games to get a lot more sloppy in the next 5 to 10 years. That's just my Babe Ruth, I'm calling it like I see it type of move, but I really feel like they're going to just fire all these developers and try to make AI slop games. But that's just, we'll see. We'll see what the future holds, but it's not going to be good.
I think that's a good, I don't know. I think that's a good guess too.
Yeah. You have any thoughts on this kind of overall summer?
Bad.
Yeah.
That's my overall thought. Bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was vocal about when Pokemon Go was sold to Saudi Arabia. Like I was like, oh, okay. That was all the confirmation that I needed about this never really actually being a Pokemon game, never really truly feeling like a Pokemon game. I was like, noted, got it, uninstalling, and like almost confirms like my choice to really not play much EA, like in a long time. Like, okay, probably won't be playing any EA for a long time, if ever again.
Yeah. And just in time for the Riyadh Comedy Festival as well. Lots of comedians currently out there.
Not queer ones.
Yeah, certainly not. Yeah. Also, I don't know if you guys saw, but like at the Riyadh Comedy Festival, like they will get arrested if they like bring up like politics at all.
Then why go?
Yeah, all these
comedian would you go?
Free speech warriors,
not real ones. Yeah,
at the Riyadh
no
Comedy.
real comedian is there, right
including
now.
Sadly Bill Burr, who I thought was above all of this.
No, not at all.
Very, very unfortunate to see that. Yeah, obviously, Saudi Arabia has a long and not hidden history of civil rights abuses, straight up murder of dissidents and reporters and whatnot. PIF has been a major stakeholder of EA in its public forum. I think it had 9% ownership of EA in its public forum. But now that this company is going private, especially to a bunch of right-wing interests, I think that there will be no shareholders that they have to kowtow any sort of propaganda or messaging from. Obviously one of the big games coming out is Battlefield 6, which is very military politically coded. We'll have to see if that has any kind of effect on the content of these games in the coming years. But again, I think now is a time where media literacy is more important than it's ever been in the past. Question everything that you see from any of these media sources, especially as you see more consolidation. That would be my advice. And to all of the employees of Electronic Arts or anybody in its affiliate companies, my thoughts are with you guys right now. I can't imagine what it would be like to be, say, a developer at Respawn or any of the myriad companies owned by Electronic Arts right now. It just sucks to see more of this happen within the industry. It seems like it is never ending.
Support indie games.
Indie games.
This is the time.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to move on to some Microsoft news. Speaking of, we got a lot here. This will wrap up the political section of the show here, but it does seem like that Microsoft has, at the very least, the one ray of sunshine in all of the gaming-related political news was that Microsoft has blocked Israel's access to mass surveillance tech. They were using the Azure cloud services for mass surveillance within the genocide in Gaza. That's one ray of good news. I think that it shows that BDS has been working, the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement, which has been put in place over the last 2 years. So this is a good step forward, and it shows that boycotting does work. We also saw this happen with, I think, Disney bringing Jimmy Kimmel back on after mass cancellations of Disney Plus and Hulu, many of their streaming services. I canceled my Disney Plus subscription after they brought Jimmy Kimmel back. So fuck you, Disney. It did not work on me. Either way, that is a little bit of good news, but that is the last bit of good news when it comes to Microsoft, because they have also been mired in pricing controversies, as we have seen with every bit of tech in Trump's administration. And that is that the Xbox Series consoles, pretty much all the Xbox consoles, have gotten yet another price hike. This is after the first that happened, I think, back in May. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That was already everything went up by about $100. Now stuff went up an additional about $30 to $50 per item. So it seems right now that the Xbox Series X, which, correct me if I'm wrong, Jordan, you said you got new for $300 on sale.
That is correct.
Is now $650. This is a 6-year-old console, 5-year-old console at this point. Unbelievable that is the pricing that we're looking at. And that is the base Series X. There's a 2 terabyte version that will put you back a whopping 800 buckaroons, boy. That's a big old expensive box. I can't help but think that some of this is maybe Microsoft just being like, just get a Samsung TV with Game Pass built in and stream that way. You know what I mean?
That's on its way for real.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what you guys think about that, but last thing I'll say before I toss it to you guys is that the Xbox Ally handheld console had its price revealed, and that's $600 for the base, $1,000 for the upgraded edition, which is just insane. I was hoping that the Microsoft branding might offset some of the cost of these handheld PCs that aren't Steam Decks, much in the way that, Valve was able to sell their console at a loss, but it seems like that is not the case.
Right.
Summer, I know you're a Game Pass subscriber, and you have a Xbox yourself. Like, what does this make you feel about the future of Xbox and Microsoft?
I don't even know. I was like starting to be, because of like the BDS movement, like I was already kind of signed off from it. Like I would like to add, like, I am only a Game Pass subscriber because it is at a loss to Microsoft. So in the way that I get it, these prices for the handhelds are nuts, and it's I think it's doomed to fail at that price. I think they've got like faulty data about the like success of handheld gaming right now, and so they think they can sell an expensive thing. And the point of having a handheld thing is that it's cheaper than a console thing. And I don't think people are willing to. Well, they're like, oh, you pay that much for a phone. I don't know.
Yeah, you can make calls on a phone and put a phone in your pocket as well.
Yeah, you're not doing that with this. I don't know.
I sounded like such a boomer right now. You can make calls on a phone. Like that's what people use their phones for.
I don't do that anymore because, spam to hell. But
Yeah.
True. I feel like what's going to be really curious, and I don't know these numbers off the top of my head, but like, how many units has the ROG Ally just like on its own sold? It can't be enough to justify this. You know what I mean? Like, but I feel like these two news items are connected, because I'm like, okay, imagine this, right? You can get the handheld Xbox ROG Ally for $600, or you can get a full-on piece of hardware Series X for $600. Those were the same price until this recent price increase, which now the Series X is $650. So I feel like in some weird way these are connected, where they're just like, we can't sell the home console for the same price as the handheld console. Like, that just doesn't make sense. It's got to be more, right? So I don't know, but I also am just like I know they probably wanted to ratchet up the price slowly, but I'm like, dude, too much. Like, after already Sony increased their prices, and now this is, again, like I was saying in previous podcast episodes, where I was like, this is just a dub for Sony. Like, if I'm going to the store and I'm going to buy a PS5 or an Xbox Series X, I'm going for the PS5. It is cheaper at this point in time, So even with the Game Pass, and also all these Microsoft games are starting to come to Sony anyway. Like, I just don't see the point in buying one at this point. And now they've built so much bad will, I don't even want to support the ROG Ally. Like, I don't, it just turned me off completely.
Yeah, I can't imagine that the ROG Ally has sold any more than 1 million units of throughout the different iterations of the ROG Ally, between ROG Ally, ROG Ally X. I know like the Steam Deck has not sold that many. Certainly nowhere near a Switch. I think last I saw the Steam Deck was around like 2 or 3 million units. But that is obviously subsidized by Valve, like we talked about before. So I know last time we heard about this, this was kind of a stopgap between, I think, a bespoke Microsoft handheld who knows if that's still going to be coming? I don't know if they can afford to even create something like that in this era of tariffs. If anybody really wants to be getting into hardware right now, I think the only reason they're doing this is because ROG already has all this, all these boards and shit that they're already manufacturing. They can slap a logo and some handles on this thing and call it a day. They're not having to start from square one or open up any new factories or anything like that. But, this era of tariffs is really eating the global trade from the inside, right? And I think it's going to be a real big problem going forward. But as far as I'm concerned, I think raising all these prices now, especially when you're $1 trillion company, I think is extremely short-sighted. Certainly if this administration ends, we will see a lot of this stuff changed in the next few years. But I think everybody raising everything right now is almost an opportunistic move to get ahead of inflation and raise prices when they can and keep those prices up. So whenever, the tariffs end, they can just keep them there,
that's
say,
the price now.
Yeah, it met up with inflation, right? So I think that's kind of my pessimistic way of looking at it. But I've learned to be pessimistic these days because I'm almost always right. We'll move on to our last bit of news before our faux main topic. This is, again, a big news week. And this is on the state of play. There were a whole bunch of presentations and events this past week or two, including Tokyo Game Show and the RGG Summit. That is the creators of the Yakuza series, if I'm not mistaken. The state of play happened. Sony put out a whole 40-minute presentation. That is their version of the Direct. Lots of things in here. Biggest being a very violent trailer for the upcoming Wolverine game. Looks pretty good. You guys have any thoughts on this? Summer, I know you were able to watch this presentation.
Yeah, and I finally paid attention when Wolverine was being announced, and then it was very violent, and I was like, oh, all right, yeah, Wolverine's happening.
At least they made him short, I suppose. I think.
The
game looks good. And this is obviously Insomniac, the same creators of the Spider-Man games that were console exclusives for PlayStation. Very, very popular games. I mean, this game does look like it's got a lot of fluidity to it. Any other takeaways from the state of play? Was there anything that kind of interested you in this presentation?
Not me. Nope.
Yeah.
And I watched the whole thing.
Yeah. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I did pick up pieces. So the Wolverine game, I'm happy for Wolverine fans to finally have a good Wolverine game that is also true to the brutality of the characters, which is nice. The
violence is definitely a feature, not a bug. I wouldn't expect a Wolverine game to not be over the top.
Well, you would expect that, but then every Wolverine game is PG-13.
Yeah. There's lots of dismemberment and penetration in this trailer.
Yeah. The other one that looked pretty cool to me was Saros, which is the Returnal devs' new game, and it's looks like a somewhat of a sequel to Returnal, but not in everything but name. So pretty stoked to see that, because when I first got the PlayStation 5, I got PlayStation Plus, and that was one of the games I played. And it is one of the best roguelite games I've played. It's a AA, I guess. It's just a lot of high production value, because most of the roguelites that I love are indie games like Hades and now Hades 2, Binding of Isaac, any card game that I've talked about before. But so that one looked pretty cool. And then there was what was it called? I'm scrolling through this real quick. It was called Chronoscript, The Endless End. It's a Metroidvania, but it looks like it's got a really cool hand-drawn aesthetic and plays with moving the world based on drawings. So I just kind of like that concept. I like anything with good art, and then also a Metroidvania with good art is my cup of tea. But other than that, everything else I was kind of meh. That's why I kind of just skimmed through it, because I was I don't need to watch the whole thing. I'll just pick out what looks good.
I think the only thing that really stood out to me was just that we're getting a Deus Ex remaster of the original game. Kind of interesting. I mean, I think that it looks like it's at least a way to play these games on modern consoles, right? It doesn't seem like it's the biggest upgrade in the world. I honestly think playing the original Deus Ex on a PC still obviously it looks dated, but I mean, this remaster also still looks dated. You know what I mean? It was kind of like when they put out the Lara Croft collection, right? Like it looks, a little bit better, right? And it's certainly a better way to play. Hopefully, I think the quality of life features are improved a little bit because while I love the original Deus Ex, it is very like early PC game.
Yeah.
We were figuring out first person games at that point, right? So I think that like if they can put their efforts into some of that rather than, and they put more efforts there into just like improving the graphics, I think that's a win. Like I ended up really liking those Lara Croft remasters because it really solved a lot of the movement problems I had with those games and some of the other quality of life stuff. So I hope that's the case as well with this too. But wow, that was a sprint. We made it through the vast majority of the news. I think we will now take a very small break on our arbitrarily cut up main topic here. And we will come back with a little bit of a discussion on whether or not it's economically viable to be a gamer in the year 2025, if there are too many games for us to play, and whether or not Nintendo has anything to do with it. We'll talk about that all right after this break. We're back to talk about our main topic, so to speak, for this episode. And that's just a bit of a conversation about the fact that there are just so many fucking video games out right now. It feels overwhelming. Jason Schreier recently over on Bloomberg actually put out a whole article just on the fact that there are too many games at the moment. It's a pretty good read. Even though I have opinions on Jason Schreier, I will always check out his reporting because I think it's very important for the industry. But yeah, I mean, just really in the past couple weeks, we saw the release of Silksong, Hades 2, Silent Hill F. What are some other games that came out as well? So many. What was that? Like Legend of Heroes, Trails of the Sky.
Oh, the remake. Yeah,
that just came out. Apparently it was a Dying Light game that released. Did not even know that came out. That's a big franchise. On top of that, there were multiple Lego games. I think Lego Voyagers came out. This Lego Party is either just out or is coming out. What else came out? There's been
Final Fantasy Tactics.
Final Fantasy Tactics, I think, just dropped.
By the time you're listening to this, you are playing Final Fantasy Tactics.
The day after this episode comes out, Mario Galaxy 1+2 drop on the Switch 2. So there is just so much. We're even not bringing up a lot of games that have come up.
We're not bringing up Blippo Plus.
Yeah, which is what you've been playing, as I've heard. We'll talk about that at the end of the show, I'm sure. But either way, it is a very saturated time in the market right now. And I just wanted to get the vibe check in the room on kind of what we feel might be the cause of this. And if this is going to be what it's like going forward, what do you guys think about the current state of the games industry?
More than ever, games are now. Wow, so many games.
That's your brain on too many games.
That's exactly, dude.
My brain on too many games.
I feel like I really have no basis for this, but I feel like, going into COVID, there was not a ton of like work from home solutions for video games, and everyone was kind of forced to scramble and delay games for a long period of time. And I feel like this year and next year everyone's kind of finally figured out the workflow, no matter where you're working from. And anything that was like in development in 2020 that just got insanely pushed back because of all those delays
is coming out now.
Finally coming to fruition. I feel that's in my gut what's happening, because I'm like, there is no way they planned to have this many fucking games at once. Like, I don't know, because it's like, if you look at the past couple of years, there's been years where like Sony doesn't release barely any first party games at all. And it just feels like that everything kind of finally came together. In the year of our Lord 2025, they figured it out.
Summer, what do you feel? Have you been playing a lot of these new releases that are coming out?
Yeah, I was actually like getting anxious about like what I was joking about when Fire Emblem Shadows came out, my immediate reaction was they can't do this to me the day before Hades 2.
Right.
Because Hades 2 has been like my personal like most anticipated game of the year. And then all of these other games like coming out that I just wasn't expecting necessarily. It's a lot to deal with because I'm also, I'm still working through games from, last year,
Yep.
years ago. Like I don't lack a backlog.
They could stop making games now, and I think we'd all be good until we die, to be honest.
Yeah. There's definitely plenty to work through.
Yeah.
And I'm never without something to pick up and play for sure. I'm trying to, it does have me questioning, like my own pace and rate of like what's important to me. Is it important like almost personal values of like, is it important for me to like pursue playing the games that are truly what I want to play versus identifying when it is important to follow the trend of a game being popular and like kind of riding that wave. Like for example, earlier this year, I was like really getting through Metaphor Refantasio, and then Clair Obscur Expedition 33 was going to come out. And I was like, oh, this is a game that it's going to be important to play like when it comes out. So I'm going to go ahead and take a break from this other game and play this now, like while it's coming out. And I think that was like the right move for that specific game. That being said, that game did end up having like a staying power that I don't think anybody expected. And it's totally okay to just like not have played it when it came out and play it at any point now. But not every game has that experience. And it's hard to know like when to make that call of, this game is always going to be here versus, oh, I want to have the experience of playing this and not a single online guide being correct. Right. Clair Obscur, that was an incredible experience. Like Baldur's Gate 3, that was like an awesome experience of playing a game where you could not find anything online for like weeks.
Right. So it's like people had to like actually like talk to each other to figure stuff out.
Yeah, and that is a really special experience with some games, right? And some games do manage to go unspoiled online for a long time, and that's a really special experience being able to play something without being spoiled at all. But you can't do that with everything, and some games do end up having a fan base that is more protective, makes sure that, yes, we want to make sure that anybody that plays this doesn't get spoiled on it. Whereas sometimes the fan base leaves containment, and Clair Obscur is unfortunately a good example of this too, where like I almost started to not play it fast enough because things were starting to get spoiled for me if I didn't like play a little bit faster. So it's hard to know. It's hard to know, like making those judgment calls as a gamer.
I slammed through Donkey Kong Bonanza in hopes that I would not get spoiled for anything. And I still was, like before the big, like, I'm not going to say it now because I know we still have a couple people specifically in our community that are playing through the game. Even though I think maybe like, what is it now? Like been 3 months or something. There is like kind of a statute of limitations. But that like pressure to play a game through before you get spoiled is so much harder when there's like 30 games out that can all be spoiled for you, right? You have to really pick your battles. And then when by the time you maybe get around to finally playing that game, who knows what else has come out that's going to be taking your attention that week of it releasing, right? So did you have something else you were going to add there, Summer?
I was just going to say that sometimes the thought of that can ruin a gameplay experience for you too.
Yes.
It's like the stress of, well, I need to get through this game so it doesn't get spoiled for me. But then you're thinking about that and then you're not like really processing the game. And I think about that specifically with a lot of like video game reviews too, right?
Yeah.
It's like you've in no other medium, right? Video games should not be held to the same standard as like movies and books and music albums where it needs to be like out before that's maybe a separate conversation than this, but
sure.
It just the whole churning of it is It was never meant for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think a great example of that is Mario and Luigi Brothership, which like did not review the best, but I'm like, yeah, I played that game over the course of a month. I cannot imagine slamming that game in less than a week. Like,
And
it
then
just,
saying something good about it, right?
yeah, it's just like, you know what I mean? It's like the only reason I enjoyed it as much as I did was because I took my time, you know?
Right.
And I feel like that's a lot of like video gaming in general, man. Like right now, I had to pick my battle. So yours is Hades 2. Mine is Silk Song because I loved the original Hollow Knight. I think that's one of my favorite top 5 games of all time. Just the best Metroidvania probably ever made. So I'm like, you know what? And I know Team Cherry put a lot of love and took their time with this one, which shows. But the beauty of this game in particular is like, it's almost unspoilable in a way because everything has like really esoteric names. So even if someone like tells you something that might be a spoiler, you're like, I have no idea what that means. So by the time you get to it, you're like, oh, that's what they were talking about because it just does not even register that it is a spoiler. So that is one benefit of Silk Song. But again, that's a game that will always be there. But I mean, like, there's also something to be said for like, you know, right now in the time we're in, it's like, especially with what we're talking about in the news section now, like I want to put my money where my mouth is. Like, what games am I going to want to like monetarily support? Like, what type of video game ecosystem do I want to see in the future? And like, what type of, you know, so I'm like, am I going to go buy the full $60, $70 price point games that I may or may not enjoy? Or I'm like, no, I'm going to go give Team Cherry my $20 because I know they fucking care and I know they love video games and I know they love their fan base. And it's been proven time and time again with just like how they treated the Hollow Knight community. Besides the long-term radio silence, which I am totally able to forgive them for. I know some people are still a little touchy about that, but I'm like, dude, like, let them cook, you know? So
well, what were they going to say? We're working on it. We're working.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like,
Right?
I was like, what did people want?
Yeah. No, I mean, there's a lot of really great points in there from what both of you said. I think that definitely monetarily now you really have to pick your battles. You just can't buy every game you want to get unless you're like an uber wealthy person. You know, that's just the reality. And it's like, and we're at a point where there is a ton of rampant unemployment in this country. And, you know, obviously everything we're going to be saying here comes from like an American perspective, as far as like, you know, that is concerned. At least I can speak for myself. But, you know, you really have to decide what it is that you want to do. And I think, you know, there's lots of, you could kind of draw some parallels, I think, between like the, you know, like Hollywood and like film industry and games at the moment, you know, just in that, you know, there's lots of like big AAA games coming out, lots of big Hollywood movies coming out. I feel like it's similar cadences for AAA games and Hollywood movies where it's like, you know, there's like a couple big ones like every weekend or every other week that kind of come out. It's been a little bit more frequent with games lately, but it's like hard to really compare those because it's like when you go to see a movie, that's like a $15, you know, if you're going to like see a movie in theaters and not on streaming, you know, that's like a 2-hour time investment, like, you know, $10-15 for a ticket, where with a game, it's like there's a new game coming out like every single week. And these are like $70 experiences, you know, and you know, a lot of them are 20, 30, 40, 50, 100-hour games. Right. So, and this is on top of, I think, other games that people just play all the time, you know, like your Destinies and your Fortnites, you know, Fortnite, which just had a really good looking Daft Punk like collab come out recently, making me be like, am I going to turn on Fortnite? And I'm like, no, man, I can't. I've got too much shit going on, right? I just like can't even like commit to the free games that are coming out and all these new experiences, right? So it's like time is like almost more of a currency here than I think the purchasing power of actually like paying $70 games. It's hard for people to keep up, even though I think they want to. But anybody have anything they want to kind of grow off of that talking point with?
Do you think we're in a bubble of sorts? Like, I feel like, you know, movies have honestly been in a really rough spot for the past few years. I mean, even before the pandemic, like movies were having a tough time, but video games saw just like unprecedented growth. during the pandemic. I mean, which makes sense. We were all locked inside. So like but I feel like now, people are clamoring for more live experiences, more stuff like that. But like they started the production on all of these games based on the increased demand near the beginning of the pandemic. And now people are going out more and doing things more out. So I'm like, is there naturally just going to be a bubble that bursts because they started making all these games based on projections that are no longer accurate,
I think the answer might be no, because, or at least not, or not like a definitive yes, because trend wise, younger generations are not going out as much. They don't have the same desire. And I think part of that was COVID, was like, they don't have the same attachment to like going out, and we don't have like real true third spaces in this country. Again, we're talking about this like through a USA lens. We don't have like true third spaces really. Like some libraries are working on like more programming for sure. But like if you don't have like more and more people are not drinking as much. So that's like, bars are becoming less and less of a place like that people are just regularly going to. I think, and part of that is like budget, right? Like I could spend money on going out one night, or I could spend money on a video game. Right. It's the same price to go out for a night in most cities. So
that's a really good point. And I agree with you. I do find it interesting that Gen Z is increasingly not drinking, but they're all smoking again. So that's fun.
Vaping.
Oh no, vaping's out, smoking's in.
Okay, cool.
As far as the modern Gen Z is concerned, as far as I understand it right now. Not that I'm like plugged in to the youth of America, but that's kind of like how I see it. But I don't know. I think as far as the bubble question is concerned, I think we're seeing a lot of similarity to like the video game crash of the 80s, but with a very big difference. Like we're seeing lots of stuff out there. I think the thing that caused the crash of the 80s is that there was too much for people to buy, and it caused the entire industry to kind of collapse in on itself. The difference this time is that in the 80s, we were inundated with shit. It was like a bunch of shitty, crappy, bottom of the barrel, took them like a week to produce games, right? And they would put these things out. But now we're inundated with a ton of like 80 to 90% games on Metacritic. You know what I mean? Like the number of games that have an 80%, there's like 150 games or something like that so far this year, right?
This year?
Yeah. That's crazy.
Oh, no, last year. No, even more than that. More than 800 games from last year that were released. Because there were thousands of games. Or on Steam, it was a staggering 18,626 games in 2024, right? Obviously, most of those, nobody is... Yeah, a lot of them are porn, right? But it's like something like 800 of them scored 80% or higher on Metacritic, right? So it's like, people are... Or maybe that was on Steam's own review thing, right? And this is not an indication of the entire thing, but I think that it's a pretty good indication of gaming writ large. And so it's like we're in an era where it's easier and easier to get these games out, right? And not only that, AAA games are like doing pretty well. Like Silent Hill reviewed great. This new Bloober Team game that came out for like the Switch 2, had good reviews, but it's like nobody played that fucking thing because it's like not one of the other many games that are coming out, right? So it's like we kind of have this like abundance of riches right now. And obviously it's kind of like scary to talk about this kind of stuff when we're in an era of like everybody getting laid off because there's like too much stuff and not enough demand, right? So I don't really know like what the future is, but it makes me a little worried about the future of the games industry in some ways, at least from like a worker's perspective, I suppose.
Yeah.
This has been a crazy episode.
Yeah.
We got pretty real this episode. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and I mean, I'll just, I guess, like, I'm just gonna follow like a train of thought that I'm having of, I acknowledge that to like some degree, and maybe even more so, like through like because of the community of it all, that I've become so much of like a capital G gamer in recent years. Like I've always been a gamer my whole life, but I didn't always like think of it that way because I used to more so think of myself as like a fan of specific games. Like there were specific games that, okay, this is the thing that I like. It's not necessarily that it's a video game. It's just, this is the thing I like. Right. And, I'm acknowledging, like I'm seeing, I have all of these games from just like the past couple of years that I have those kinds of feelings about, but I feel like I haven't fully been able to let myself just like be a fan of that thing because there have been so many games. And it's like I'm almost stretched too thin as like a fan of like, oh, I want to dedicate like my wallet to everything that comes out that's Baldur's Gate 3 or whatever. And that has been so hard to do. I'm just like, my heart is just like being pulled in so many directions. And I'm also, because like speaking to like almost all of my hobbies are directly impacted by video games, right? I am a cosplayer. I cosplay from primarily video games. If there is something new that comes out that gets me really excited, that's more of my budget. That's not going towards more video games, is going towards cosplay. And like going to events where I'm celebrating video games and those characters in those games. Right? Like video game music is another like huge, like that alone, right? These are like very specific niche, but like like time sink cost hobbies that are like related to video games, but like, gosh, there's only so much time in the world for me to, and wanting to dedicate my like self to like fandom as opposed to like gaming. It's something that I've been struggling with a lot lately.
I think about being a kid in this era of abundance in video games and how insane that must be, and especially when like everybody has ADD and attentions are so split. Like, you know, I feel like the value of individual games in people's minds have gone down while the monetary value of games has gone up, right? And so it's a very interesting time to be a gamer and like a young gamer in this time. I wonder kind of like what kids how they're kind of adapting to this environment right now.
I actually had kind of an interesting like reflective experience when I was waiting in line for the Switch 2, because I was next to a family that was there for their I think 14-year-old son, who I didn't realize was 14. Like I didn't realize he was that young when we first were talking. And then like they were like, oh yes, this is like a graduation present. And I was like, oh, like, are you going to college? And they were like, oh no, he's graduating middle school. And I was like, oh. But then he like, was really excited to talk about games and started to talk about like the handful of games that were like the games that he owned and were important to him. And I was like, okay, cool. Like maybe he just has really good parents, but like he's got like his 5 games. And I remember being that way of like, no, these are the 5 games. And I still have games like to me in my mind that even came out in the past couple of years. And I'm like, well, no, I know that I'm always going to have that game that I'll eventually go back and play one day. Like I'm going to play, that's my game that I could play forever or whatever. But now I have 20 of those games. So my hope is that, and I think that is still happening, that kids, games are expensive and kids are going to have the 5 games that they play. But it's interesting to find out what those 5 games are because there's just so many games.
Yeah, I was sitting next to probably like a 6-year-old or like a 7-year-old girl, like on the plane back from New York City when I was flying back to Dallas. And she was on her iPad playing Geometry Dash the whole time, which is what I was playing like 10 or 15 years ago. Those forever games, they stick around. I don't know that she's getting Ghost of Yote when that drops. But maybe, there's so much more we can say. I think, I wanted to keep this a little bit shorter since we had such a long news section, but I do want to ask where you guys think Nintendo fits into this. I think it's interesting. I think there's been obviously a lot of talk recently and a lot of controversy around Nintendo's pricing decisions. A lot of that is being forced, obviously their hands being forced, as we talked about before with the tariff situation. I think for better or for worse, I do think Nintendo could take a few more licks on the chin than they currently are. That's my personal opinion. But, obviously the DLC situation is really pissing people off. Amiibo prices are outrageous. I think $50 for those Kirby amiibos is beyond the pale. Obviously there's been a lot of controversy with Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 pricing. But, I do kind of hear also another complaint, which maybe is a feature and not a bug. And that is that, they're kind of playing it a little safe right now. There's not a ton releasing. They're not really going overboard with a lot of their releases. Do you think that that's like partially because of this abundance of games in the market right now? Do you think they kind of like read some of the tea leaves on this and are, holding back some of their games? Because it doesn't seem like they have, followed suit. I'm not seeing a glut of new Nintendo games like I kind of thought we'd be seeing at the beginning of the Switch 2 era, right? We're seeing more of that drip feed that we've been seeing over the last few years with them. Do you guys think that has anything to do with it, or what are your thoughts on Nintendo's place in this conversation?
I feel like that absolutely has to do with it. I feel like they've always been a little bit pragmatic as reading the rest of the industry, and usually whenever the industry goes one way, they try to go the other way. But I feel like, I definitely, because the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 right now are hitting their stride. This is finally the year when we get games like Death Stranding 2, which some people were calling like this is the first true next generation game because it didn't have to develop for the PS4 and simultaneously with the PS5. So they were just like not held back. And then also they've had the years of experience with the hardware to really unlock the full potential. So I think Nintendo knows like 5 years into a console's life cycle is when they're starting to put out some of the best games for those consoles. And so I think they're keeping that in mind. And they're like, okay, well, that means we can kind of go a little bit slower, go at our own pace, make sure we can put out enough units so that when we do finally drop all these games, like we can sell numbers because everyone has a Switch 2 already. You know what I mean? So it's like there's some of these titles are gonna be evergreen, which is what we're seeing, like your Donkey Kong Bonanzas, that's gonna sell the entire life cycle of the Switch 2. Mario Kart World, that's gonna sell the entire life cycle of the Switch 2. So like I feel like those are the games we're getting up front so that like they can take their time and let this kind of pass a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like that's just, I do think they're reading the tea leaves, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, production of the Switch 2 maybe is the bigger part of the conversation because I'm hearing what you're saying of like, the games that are always going to sell once people buy a Switch 2 and they're like, well, what else do I want to get for it? Because I think, right, because like Metroid is a game that will sell the Switch 2 as opposed to Mario and Donkey Kong being games that are, well, I'll also go ahead and get this game.
You're talking about like the end of life cycle versus like beginning is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know that there's a real answer for all of it, and I think that Nintendo has found themselves like in an era of like circumstance, like we've seen with so much of the industry right now. I will say it's not what I like expected from Nintendo at this juncture. And I think I have been caught a little bit off guard. I don't know that it's like the wrong way to attack it, but I will say it does feel just like economically hard to be a Nintendo fan right now in some ways. Right. And I think that focusing on the games that you want to play and them having like one maximum 2 games that come out a month that are vastly different genres makes it a little bit easier to pick and choose which games you actually want to pick up. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that I think is important for us all to keep track of, especially in this era where all the streaming services are getting price increases, like we talked about with media consolidation, especially right-wing media consolidation. I feel like people are being a little bit more picky with what it is that they're actually supporting with their dollar these days, right? And so I think that, we're seeing a rise, I think, in people figuring out how to torrent again and getting Plex servers, right? And, getting through their backlog, so it's like, it can be hard when there's so much FOMO, both in the Nintendo community and just kind of like at large. But it's a very, very interesting time to be a gamer. And I don't want to, just end this on kind of a very negative bow, but I do think that this is a conversation that I think was important to have, and something that I think I'm personally feeling, just in gaming in general. And as somebody that hosts a game podcast, it's like, I'm feeling a little bit of like a decrease in general excitement overall. And it's almost like this, you go to Netflix and there's nothing to watch, but there's a million games or a million shows, right? It's kind of like that idea. It's this, paralysis of choice, I think it's maybe called, but it's interesting to talk about. This has been a little bit more philosophical than I was maybe anticipating. But did any of you have any final thoughts before we close out this episode for today?
I mean, like, if you don't want to buy it, just don't buy it. Like, I think that's kind of my, it's like, the $50 amiibos, or like those Street Fighter 6 amiibos that were like $30 or $40, whatever. I'm just like, cool. I'm just not gonna buy it, and that's okay. You don't have to buy everything. Like, it's, like, I feel like, if in a way it's kind of almost freeing, because you can just be like, oh, okay, I don't need to own everything, and that's okay. Like, I can just buy what is most important to me, and honestly makes me more appreciative of what I do end up buying, because it's like, oh, I had to think about like exactly what was most important to me. So I don't know. I feel like, every time I see people get mad about the DLC and all that kind of stuff, I was like, you just can just not buy it. It's fine. Like, and sometimes when they announce a DLC, I'm like, yeah, of course, Pokemon ZA was going to get like some DLC. We knew that was probably coming at some point, the Bonanza DLC was honestly a bit of a surprise, but I'm like, not that surprising. You know what I mean? I'm honestly surprised we got that, and then not Mario Kart World DLC, if I'm being completely honest. So I don't know though. Like, man, that's overall just, if you don't want it, don't buy it. It's fine.
Now's a great time to get into books. I'll say that. I've been reading a lot. It's been great. I've been really enjoying that. Shout outs to the fucking library. You brought up the library earlier.
I've been going to the library.
Yeah.
Notorious not reader, has been reading.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
And not only for books, but I know a lot of libraries also stock video games. They stock movies. Yep. They got all sorts of stuff. And beyond just community focused places like the library, sharing games with your friends. Always an option, gang.
Yep.
If you've got a friend who owns the new Ghosts of Yote game, it's not going to take them more than a couple weeks to beat that. Why don't you borrow it from them and then maybe do a little bit of a trade? I think a lot of these companies are not going to be hitting their unrealistic sales goals regardless. So I think time will tell how this all shakes out. But believe in others. Maybe that's the positive note we end on. Form a community. Make your own fucking games. I think we're going to call the main topic there. We're going to move on to our last segment, which is the games we've been playing recently. So, I've been playing a bunch of games recently. We were off for the past 2 weeks. I'm not going to go through everything, but I did want to give a shout out, like I did at the top, to Andrew, who I stayed with in New York. We played a ton of UFO 50 games. I basically showed him through all the multiplayer games. We had a great time there. Also, I'm not going to get too into detail on this right now because we will be covering this next week. Wink, wink, surprise, surprise. But Monochrome Heights releases on October 7th, and I was lucky enough to get a review code for the game. So I have been playing the final version of Monochrome Heights, which is incredible and very challenging. And I've been putting a ton of time into. I think I'm only like about halfway through the game right now, and I've put about 7 or 8 hours into it. And it is just a massive game with tons of levels and lots of challenge. Can't wait to get into more detail about that next week. But a couple other games that I've been playing, one of which was also a review code that I got. And this is the 1.0 release of Mars First Logistics. This is a game I've been looking forward to for a while. It's been in early access, but I decided I was going to kind of wait on it until it actually came out in its 1.0 form before I actually played it, just because there's kind of so much to look at. But this game is so fun. If you like the building from Tears of the Kingdom, kind of like the vehicle building, this is a game that's sort of built all around that. Basically, it takes place on Mars, and you have a little rover, and you're building out your Mars rover and delivering parcels to and from. It's kind of a Strand type game, I guess you could say, but with a very colorful aesthetic and building mechanics. Yeah, it's very much
Death
like
Stranding for kids.
It seems like that. I could see kids really, really enjoying this game. It's certainly like for all ages. I wouldn't call it a kids game, but it's like kids that are creative and like playing with like connects and building little machines and whatnot. This is a super, super fun game. I was playing this on the plane ride back from New York, and I was just like cackling the whole time because the game was just constantly making me laugh as I was trying to do things very unsuccessfully. Next, I played the demo for the upcoming game Alabaster Dawn. This is definitely one of my most anticipated games right now. I loved this demo, and I loved Crosscode, which is Radical Fish's previous game. Both of these are RPGs, JRPG style games, but they are not turn-based. They are action games. Essentially, I played that like Adventures of Elliot demo, and like that was fun, but like what Alabaster Dawn is doing is what I want out of that Adventures of Elliot demo. This looks to be a way smoother, cleaner, better version of that. It's not in the HD 2D style, obviously, but the graphics are beautiful here. And it has these kind of faux 3D pixelated environments, and the movement and everything is just so incredibly fluid. I really, really, really recommend you guys check out this demo. This thing is beautiful and it plays wonderfully. I was just having a blast at just doing the fighting and action, and then already the story seems really cool about kind of this group of gods that were there to protect the society and were taken at the last minute, and then you wake up, you're one of the last kind of like protectors of this world. Very, very cool, great character design. Can't wait for that game to come out. And then finally, I think what I'll say is I started for the first time Ghosts of Tsushima.
Let's go.
Yeah, this is my first time actually playing this game. I have a PS5, and I finally started buying some games for it. It was like this, Alan Wake, and Shadow of the Colossus. And I just started playing this right before I left for New York, so I haven't gotten too far into the game yet. But I'm like a few hours in, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm not a huge fan of the first-party PlayStation third-person action games. Those aren't really my style. But this one has so much of its own identity that I think I'm latching onto it a little bit more than some of those other games. But that's mostly it. I've been playing some other stuff, but I'll move on from there. Summer, what about you? What have you been playing recently?
Yeah, I have mostly been bouncing between two games. So one of those games is Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar. This is a remake of Story of Seasons. I think it was Harvest Moon still at that point. Harvest Moon Grand Bazaar on the DS. And this was not a originally like well-received game by the Harvest Moon fandom. It was not like a fan favorite game at the time. I didn't play the original one. I remember seeing like, I remember being like, they're blonde. I'm not interested. I like, cause kids, I don't know, like we had brains that were different then. So this one though, it is a complete remake. It is clearly taking like the base of what it was on the DS and then incorporating like what has worked from more recent titles and incorporated them into this one. And I'm not exaggerating. Everyone is saying this, but it is the best Story of Seasons game like so far. And I realize saying that is also like, what does that even mean? Because like those games aren't for everyone. And I'm still not even saying that this game is for everyone either, because it's not. But if you like farming games, you should be playing this one. It really is that good. You're going to get everything that you want out of it. It does all of the kind of things that you want out of a farming game. Like it does them really, really well. Which is why I am still going back to it and playing a day or two. before I go back to what I said recently in the episode of what is my most anticipated game of the year, Hades 2. So yes, been playing a lot of Hades 2 as well. Holy hell, it has not disappointed me so far. If anything, I went into it with an open mind. I also went into it like trying to avoid as much as I could. I did not play it in early access because I wanted to be as unspoiled as possible, and that has been paying off. So into this. Love that feeling of like learning new systems that are like it's similar to Hades, but still like different enough that it's activating my brain in that really good game feel way. And everything that I liked about Hades is it's just doing it again with Hades 2. So really is like the best possible sequel I could have asked for.
Awesome.
From a game that ended up being one of my favorite games of all time. So like just having a really great time with it. That being said, my sister came over this weekend and we were joking about streaming services, and she was like, "Oh, do you want to watch something off of Blippo?" And I was like, "Blippo? What are you talking about?" I was like, "I've not heard of that one." And she goes, "Oh yeah, let me hook up my Steam Deck to the TV and we'll watch Blippo." So she gets it all set up and I was like, "Wait, what is this?" And I'm like, "Kyle, come in here. You got to watch Blippo." And it like was this whole thing of like us gathering around and watching Blippo. So Blippo Plus is a game that originally came out on the Playdate earlier this year, where basically broadcasts were like released every week. It was like actually like meant to simulate cable TV. And I don't want to spoil what the experience is beyond that because it's great and there is a story and there is a plot. There's like 11 weeks of episodes to get through, and like episodes on all of these channels. I'm gonna add that are in Blippo Plus.
And a lot of this is filmed live action stuff, right?
Yes, it's all live action. I mean, yes, it's like live action or it's made TV. Like there's some claymation as well.
Okay.
I don't know if there's like cartoons yet or not. I only got through the first 2 weeks. But I fully intend to continue getting through more of it. Cause I started to read like a little bit about it but like, cause I was just curious, like, okay, where did this come from? And the first thing that I saw was like Game of the Year conversations. I was like, oh, okay. Like I got to get through Blippo.
Dude, fucking Game Awards Blippo sweep. That's what I'm looking for.
It really isn't. The best way I can describe it is it's like a visual novel, but it's like imitating like cable channel surfing. And that it's like,
Weird.
it's just a really interactive storytelling. What more could you want from a video game?
Absolutely.
That's what it's doing. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I got to check that out. Who knows when I'll have time, but it looks insane.
If you have time to watch Netflix, you got time to watch Blippo Plus.
Hell yeah. What about you, Jordan? What have you been playing?
Never did I think the Satellaview would ever come back in any form whatsoever. True. So it's just really weird to be like, yeah, they released an episode every week for 11 weeks. I'm like, what? They broadcasted? Whatever. Anyway.
Yeah.
I do want to play Hades 2. I do want to play Ghost of Tsushima. So, and I do have that one downloaded on my PS5. I beat Alan Wake 2 right before I left. So I was like, okay, I need a new big game, but Silksong is going to fill that void for a bit. So, but first I wanted to talk about my plane game. I played a lot of this on the plane, was Monster Train 2.
Yeah, that just released, right?
Dude, it came out earlier this year.
Oh, okay.
And it took everything in my power to like not buy it, but I'm like, I need to play this before Slay the Spire 2 comes out.
Okay, right.
If Slay the Spire 2 comes out and it's as good as I want it to be, I just, that's going to be 100 hours just gone. So I love the original Monster Train. I originally played it on Game Pass and then I bought it on PC and I played it. I don't even really know how long. What is time? Because I would just have like YouTube and I would just play Monster Train. It was great. So the second one's really interesting. Like, so it takes everything from the first game and then just like makes it more complicated in a way that I'm like not fully invested yet. But once I start to kind of grasp the mechanics a little bit more, it's just like it is a true sequel in the sense of like it's more complicated in the original, and if you like the original, it's giving you more of that type of gameplay. So far it's been really fun. Just building decks and fighting monsters, and the whole premise of this game. The first one is you are demons trying to storm the gates of heaven. This one is something happened in the first one. This one has like more story, which is interesting. But basically, there's a team up between the demons and some angels to fight a certain god. So everything's like more of a mashup between demons and the angels, which is pretty cool. But then, yeah, other than that, man, I've been mostly just playing Silksong because I've been just savoring this game. Like, what an incredible feat. You can just like, sometimes you're like, oh yeah, a game was being made for 7 years. And you're like, what does that even mean? This, you can see it every single time you play it. Like the layers, the level of detail in every like background, all the particle effects, like how smooth everything just runs, the little attentions to detail in the animations, characters that only pop up every once in a while, but when they do, it's like a bespoke animation. Like it's incredible what they were able to achieve. Like this is such a beautiful game. Another masterpiece from Team Cherry. So far, I'm like probably like 12 or 13 hours in, but I'm just trying not to like rush through it because it is such a beautiful experience. And like, I remember the first time I played Hollow Knight, I was like, it took me a little while to get into it, but once I got the side jump, wall jump, I was like, this is it. This game is incredible. So, and I like the changes they made. Like they made changes to where like in Hollow Knight, you kind of have little badges and that's kind of how you make your build out of your character. This game has more, they're called crests. And so different crests have, different ways that you attack. So like someone's like a faster, shorter, one's like a longer, but slower, heavier attack. And with that comes like a different amount of spots to put in different abilities. So it's just like the builds are a little bit different as well. So like, I like how the game is similar, but different. It's very nice. But anyway, that's about it, man. Those are the two games I've just been going back and forth.
Hell yeah. If you're looking to find somebody who is rushing through that game, look no farther than friend of the show, Xanagear, who's been posting his 100% completion time in the Metroidvania channel in our Discord. It's been really cool to see him consistently bringing that time down. I think he's at like an hour 40 right now or something like that.
Something
for
like
100%.
That, yeah.
Crazy shit, dude. It's crazy so early seeing the speed running game going back and forth for a game like Silksong. But that's gonna do it, I think, for the majority of this episode. We did have a little bit of an announcement. I don't know if now is the best time for that, but Summer, I might pass it to you.
Sure, David, thank you. I'll go ahead and speak. So, yeah, it would have been awkward to put this at the beginning of the episode, so that's why we're doing it now. And there's no like easy way to go about saying this. So it is my turn to say farewell, Switch Heads. Not forever, not entirely. I'll still be around. I'm just stepping down as a regular host, kind of in line with the theme of this episode. There's just so much at all times going on. And I, have loved doing this podcast. I've been doing it for the past 2 years. A drop in the bucket for the life of the podcast, but has been very meaningful to me all the same. So thank you, David, for having me, as long as you've let me. And Jordan, it's been a pleasure to host alongside you as well.
Same.
I've really, really enjoyed my time being on this podcast. I've come out of it, with a lot of additional skill sets. I know how to talk about the industry in a different way because it forced me to.
Now you have to leave and make an indie game that releases on October 7th.
I am not doing exactly that, but I do have like similarly aligned passion projects that I am working on, like Patrick. Yes,
that's awesome.
Hopefully, excited to hopefully talk about them at some point. But in the meantime, I'll still be around. I'll still be hanging out, chatting. This is, I believe, my last episode as a formal host. It's been a pleasure, and thank you. It's been great.
I've loved so much having you as the many times that you've come and guested on the show before you became a host.
Before I commandeered,
and
yes.
then also coming in and kind of taking over some of the the Patrick and Matt responsibilities and doing the actual hosting. I think one of my favorite episodes that you did was the Switch Headz Ladies Night episode,
yes,
where you kind of handled that one all by yourself. I think that was a fabulous episode. That was so much fun to listen to. I hope at some point in the future we can corral some of the ladies in the community and do something similar again. But it has been such a great honor getting to know you, not just as a host and as a guest, but as a friend. You know, it's now been multiple times when I've come and visited in Chicago that you and Kyle have both opened up your home to me, and I feel like I've grown so close to you. Like as people, I came through that door.
It is a door.
Yeah, YouTube watchers will see the exact portal that I popped through in order to make it all the way to Shy City Mang. But boy, I can't really put into words what it's meant to have you on the show, and I hope that you will be okay with me asking you to guest some in the future, because I don't know if I'll be able to handle having your presence be gone permanently on the show super well, but I'll talk to my therapist about it. But I love you very much, Summer, and it's been so awesome having you on the show, and I'm sure the listeners of this podcast will also agree.
Thank you so much. Very kind.
The only thing I wanted to add was, like, Summer, I am so excited to see what you do and continue to follow you. Like, I feel like you've been on such a journey since I've known you, since like this beginning of just being in the Discord, so it's just really cool to see all your interests keep going. Mm-hmm. And I'm like really excited to keep watching. I don't know how else to say that. So there you go.
I love
Thanks,
following
Jordan.
your projects. You're totally right, Jordan. Yeah. I wish you all the luck in the future as well.
Thank you.
Well, let's go ahead and wrap up the show as we normally do, huh? Let's give a thanks to MilkyWay.co for doing our website. Thanks to Corduroy for doing our music. Thanks to all of our patrons on Patreon. And if you'd like to find me on the internet, I am pretty much everywhere at Monolith Fiji.
You can find me at Weebwitched.
You can find me at Bordan.
And if you'd like to find our show on social media, we are at Switch Headz on Blue Sky and Twitter, at Super Switch Headz on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We have a website, switchheadz.com. And as I said, we have a Patreon, a Discord, and a Facebook group. We would love if you could join us over there on the Discord. It's such a wonderful community. Please, if you have any extra bucks after all the games that you've been buying, you fucking gamers, go pump it into our Patreon over at patreon.com. And we have a YouTube version of the show, which we do every single week. You can see our beautiful faces. Look at Summer. Look how beautiful Summer is on this last episode.
Look at Jordan using a kaleidoscope.
That's
what
true.
you point out.
Look at Jordan's blurred out kaleidoscope over here on the YouTube version. It's lots to see over there. We'd love your likes and subscribes on that channel. Shoot us a review on Apple or Spotify. And please tell your friends about the show. Word of mouth does wonders. And we'd love to have you over on the Discord as well. That's going to do it for this week's episode on the industry at large. We're going to be back next week with a very special episode with a very special guest. I'm going to say it right now. You know him. You love him. We're bringing fucking Patrick back for the Monochrome Heights release episode. I cannot wait. I've been diving headfirst into this full game. I'm hoping to have it completed by next week's episode. We'll be talking with him all about the development and release of his game, so make sure you tune in for that. But other than that, guys, you know the drill. Be safe out there. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to one another. Fuck ICE. Free Palestine. Much love. We'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.